summarize a single table at a time, what if you had multiple tables that you wanted to summarize? And more so, what if you had multiple tables that were related that you wanted to maybe join together and then conduct a summary? The long way of going about it was joining all these tables into one super table using things like the lookup functions, the lookups, in order to do that analysis. But at least as a way of trying to bypass that, trying to make things easier, there was the introduction of power pivots. So with power pivots, you're able to find a common column within a common unique column within different tables, and then join them and do a single analysis from them. Now, with even though this was a bit of an improvement, but the scientific community still never received it so well. Hence came another add-in that was later added on to Excel, called the Power Query. Now, with the Power Query, you are able to pick your data and then do all manner of transformations within your data. That right now you can say that that's the primary data management tool within Excel. So you could pick your data, do all the transformation that you pulled on it, and then proceed on to your analysis. It was supposed to also take care of Excel limitations like right now in your normal Excel, you can't go beyond 1 million, especially about 1,048,000 rows. So Power Query came in to give you a bit of a virtual interface such that you could be able to even go beyond this limit that was there within Excel. So you could be able to get data from not just within Excel, but from so many other different data sources and easily pull them together and then do your analysis. From there, you could proceed to things like Power Pivot, Excel data modeling, if you wanted to do that. But a big another problem that came in was the visualization and then the collaboration bit. In order to try and correct that, we had various additional features in Microsoft coming in, things to do with Power View. If you have interacted with it, primarily it was majorly included as part of Excel in Excel 2016. So we had Power View, we had Power Maps. Those were quite powerful visualization tools within Excel. But the one thing that was always a problem was, even though you could do your presentation so well, but how about if you are working as a team? The question came in that now you're able to build very good dashboards, very good visuals, very good presentations within Excel using Power View, Power Map, and then you could be able to get your data from so many other sources using Power Query and Power Pivot. But now, what if you're working in a collaborative environment? So how are you able to work on, say, maybe a similar file if you are a team? So that was the other problem, because then it will mean that you keep sending files back and forth among teams in order to try and get the best visuals and then the best kind of that will be the best way to collaborate. So now Microsoft, let me use the term SAT, and then came up with now the product called Power BI. So Power BI is a combination of all these tools that we've been talking about. If you move all the way from Power Pivot, if you come all the way to Power Query, you come to Power View, all the way to Power Maps, and even more. So it's the primary function of Power BI was first of all visualization, and then mainly collaboration. So if you're working as a team, then you're able to develop your dashboards, and these dashboards you're able to share it with a team who could either view, modify, or change whatever you have done. So that collaboration process was quite easy. So you don't have to keep uploading your files to mail and sharing among team members. So now that was one of the primary functions of Power BI. More specifically, in terms of data manipulation, it's a powerful data integration tool called an ETL tool. On the chart, I'll type those initials here. It's a powerful data integration tool called an ETL. To simply stands for extract, transform, and load. Meaning that extract means that you get data from whichever sources you're going to get data from. So you are not only constrained to Excel or the worksheet or workbook that you're using. Power BI is able to extract data from so many diverse sources that you're going to look at. So many diverse sources, so many databases, and then bring them all together into a platform that is easier for someone to manipulate. So that part of bringing data from so many different sources, that is what is called extraction. Transformation means that now once you've brought all this data from all these sources, there's a bit of data management that needs to be done on this data. Data management data management simply means you can do a bit of data cleanup, whereby you remove unwanted features within that data. For instance, you can remove maybe columns or rows that you don't need. That is the data cleaning part. Then you have, I'll still use the term transform here. Transform, which means you can alter the structure of the data a bit towards what you want. And then after you've done all this data management, you could refer to the data management video that we did. After you've done all this data management, that is under T, transform, then you finally send this data onto now another platform for visualization. Now that is the loading part. You load this part into a workspace that now you'll be able to visualize the aspects of this data that you're going to need. So Power BI, that's why we call it an ETL tool. So from the beginner level, what we are going to do will be simply that step. We are going to extract this data from somewhere. We are going to transform this data. Then we are going to load this data now to the visualization section. I hope that's clear for us. And just for our own reading, there are different data integration. There are different data integration tools that exist. We talked about the ETL tool, which is Power BI. We also have an ELT tool. Now that one switches things a bit. That is extract, load, and then transform. I won't go so much into it here. This is just for our knowledge. We have data replication tools. If you're interested in that, you can have a look. We have primarily data visualization tools. You can have a look. We have MDM tools. MDM are called master data management tools that also exist. And then we have another category called data quality tools. These are not the only tools outside there, but for the sake of our knowledge, you could have a look at them later and then try and see what they do. Let's move. Let's move to now the actual Power BI, and then let's get to see what it actually. If you had downloaded it, that's if you didn't have it uh, installed prior on your machine. If you had downloaded it, just go and on your search bar, you can just search for Power BI, click on it, and then that should give you something like, I'm sharing my screen. You're about to see that. Now this, once you open your Power BI application, then this is what you'll get. So there's the Power BI desktop version, and then there's the Power BI online version. Desktop version means that the application, the way it is, you can be able to do your visualization within your personal computer. And then once you are done with that, you can now, the term is called publish. You can now publish, which means you can make it now available on an online platform for others to also be able to collaborate with you on the same app. I'll proceed with this. If you have any questions, if you need any clarification, kindly make use of the chat and then we'll be able to answer that. So initially, when you open your Power BI application, this is what you get. Now, whatever I'm seeing here, I'm being given the files that I had earlier been working on, and then a bit of news from the Power BI team here. But so I don't, for a start, I don't need this initial window that has popped up here. So we'll close this one. We'll close that one and move on to our main Power BI interface. Now, Power BI, like we have seen on the other series that we dealt with when we're looking at Power Query, you are able to get your data from so many different sources. So if the data that you wanted to visualize, then maybe was simply in an Excel workbook, then maybe you could directly go to this icon that we have here, or on other different data hubs that you have, say maybe one belonging to your organization, or simply an SQL server, as mostly used in so many different organizations. You could simply come and quickly click on the buttons that are here. But in order to, and before I move to this one, also here centrally, we have also another way of getting our data. Say maybe if you wanted to import it directly from Excel, import it from an SQL server, or if you had copied your data and wanted to paste it here and just start your analysis, you could use this. Or if you simply wanted to see how Power BI works and you feel you don't have the right data set to use, you could come to this fourth option where it says try a sample data set. Click on that and then get to play around with different data sets in order to get a feel of what Power BI can do. Now, the different data sources that Your Power BI is able to extract data from. You could come here on the Home tab, just on the Home ribbon, on this button called Get Data. If we click on this arrow here, and then I want to come down to More, where we have More. If we do that, then you're going to be shown all the various data sources that we are able to get our data from. Right now with this, we are told we're able to get our data from either Excel workbook, a text document, XML document, or from a website in form of a JSON file, or from the so many different servers, or you can extract data from a PDF. There's so many different sources that you are able to get your data from. So that if you are an organization, then instead of the common practice that we normally do, whereby say maybe you have to go, say maybe through your ERP, you download a file and then you have to save it first and then go look for it. You can simply, while following the various procedures of your data governance rules, you can simply connect your Power BI to your database, and then you can get to extract whatever you need directly from there without all going through all the process of you download, and then you is when you import to the application. So these are the so many other data sources that we have. For us to keep it simple and for a start, let's get the data that was within the Excel file. For Excel file, we can either use this button that we have here, Excel workbook, or we can import from Excel, the one that we have here, or there's so many different sources. These are that have like Excel icons on them. So let's get our data from. I've clicked on that Excel. Let's get our data from. So click on the Excel file, then locate. Go to the location where you have saved your data. Mine had saved it here on the on my desktop. This is what I have, and then I'll just click on open. I do that, and immediately I'm led to a navigator window. Now, in your navigator window, always this will give you a list of all the sheets and all the tables that you have within the workbook that you selected. You'll know that it's a table if you come for instance on mine here. I have this gridded icon here, but with a blue top. The topmost row has a blue color on it. That one tells me that this is a table. If say maybe I come to the third one called price list, if you look at this icon, the way it is, you see it does not have that blue, but it looks more like a worksheet. Then I'll know that this one is a worksheet. So what this one means is that I have a worksheet called price list and the sales sheet, and then I have two tables called master table and price list. So if you wanted to preview what is in either, you could simply click on either of them. That will give you a preview of the data you're about to deal with. And once you're confident of whichever one you want to use, then you can click on that. For this example, it will be easy if you work with this table. So I'm going to click on master table, since we are going to use that. And then I'm going to also pick on this table called price list. So simply check on the box next to master table, and then I'll also check on the box next to price list. And then with this one checked, so with this two checked, I'll come to my options down here. Right now I have an option called load, I have an option called transform data, and I have an option called cancel. Obviously, we don't want to cancel. So here, I'll advise, at least for a start, use transform. So what we've done when we are bringing these tables and worksheets here, we've extracted our data. So we've extracted our data from the worksheet that we had. After extraction, use the ETL model. After extraction, do your transformation. So you come and you say, I want to transform this data. So you transform your data in order to confirm. You transform your data in order to confirm that everything is right. Your data types have been identified correctly. All the headers and everything else is okay. You don't have error within the data. That's when you're able to move. So in our transformation, if you look at the window that we have here, you'll notice that this is just the Power Query window that we are used to. So if you had looked at the previous videos that we had made, you'll simply see that this is the Power Query. This is our Power Query window. So it means that when we are talking about the progression, how things progress all the way from Power Pivots, Power Pivots to Power BI, then this is the integration that was done here. So the transformation in Power BI is done through a Power Query. And just a quick confirmation that our data is okay. First of all, check on the data type that you have here. If you at the very top of each column, just beside the column header, you'll see an icon indicating the data type for this data that we have. Right now, this is date. So you'll see a data icon here. So that's okay. It means that our dates have been recognized correctly. Our countries have been recognized correctly. You can see it. You can see it from here. These have been correctly recognized as letters here, as text. Our towns are also text correctly recognized. Our salespersons also correctly recognized as text, which is okay. Our product also correctly recognized as text, which is okay. Our quantity sold, these have been correctly recognized as whole numbers, which is just okay. We are going to use them as they are. So instead of always remember in Power Query, instead of trying to scroll all the way down the column in order to see if your numbering is, if the content you have within the columns are okay, make use of this green strip that you have here. If you float your cursor on this green strip that you have here, yes.
Allow me to interrupt you. We have some questions in the chat box.
Okay.
People are having issues with their data sheets.
Okay, let me see. Good. We only national. You're saying you only have 3 sheets. Now, Nation, I'm assuming that was on the, and please feel free to also unmute. I'm assuming that was when you loaded your data to Power BI, the navigation window. Is that so?
Hi. I think
Yes, yes.
we don't have the master table sheet. I don't know whether it's me alone, but I don't seem to have that.
Okay.
But
Now
you have
in
it.
the no problem. Now in the icons that you had you had three icons, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, all of them are all of them tables or sheets? Looking at the
There's
icons.
the icons. There's one. One is a table, that is table one, and then two are sheets, price list, and then sales sheet. Don't have the master table one.
Oh, oh. Okay. No problem. Think we'll work with I know where to start our work on. And then Alvin, I think with you you have null columns and rows. Did you see any worksheet on the navigation window?
Yes, now the null columns and rows were coming when I select the price list, but
Yes.
upon data transformation,
Yes.
if you click table one, now it is bringing me on the same page as yours as well. So the null
Okay.
values were on the price list. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
I'm I'm guessing for you. You also use the worksheet and not the tables. But we'll see. I'll redo that step so that all of us are on the same page. And then oh yeah, Gidinje, you also don't have the master table. So that's okay. So let me do this so that we are all on the same page. So this is the action that we took. So first we imported data from an Excel workbook. I located mine where it was. I saved it somewhere on the desktop. And then on my navigation window, then here was a bit of a point of departure for maybe, I guess, a number of us. So since for some we are not able to see the master table and the price list, then let's not work with the tables. What we are sure of is that we have two worksheets called price list, and then we also have another one called a sales sheet. So instead of working with the tables, let's see how to work with our worksheets. So if you already have what we had after doing the transformation, then that's okay. You wait for us. But if you are stuck here, then this is what we could do. So we could select our two sheets, price list and sales sheet. And then from here, we say that we now move to transformation. So now move to our transformation. Let me see. And if you're stuck, please feel free to shoot a question within on the chat, and then we'll be able to see how to go about that. Now on our transformation, then so this is what we'll have. First of all, on this one called the sales sheet, which initially mine was called master data, since that's how the table was called. We'll have a date, which is okay. Let's start with this. We'll have a date, which is okay. We'll have our country, which is okay, has been correctly identified as a text. We'll have our towns, correctly identified as a text. We'll have the salesperson, correctly identified as a text. Product, correctly identified as a text. And then finally, quantity sold, correctly identified as a whole number. But then you'll notice something. If we are using worksheet, if we use the worksheet, then after quantity sold, we'll have a number of blank columns to the right. For my case, that's from column 7 all the way to column 12. I guess now this is what one of us was talking about when you mentioned the null. So here, this is why transformation is important. This is why maybe for now I will not recommend that. I will always recommend that we do the transformation first. Transformation helps you to, we said it helps you to clean up your data a bit and even change the structure so as to fit the kind of reporting that you want to do. So what we are going to do, let's make sure that we only remain with the data that is going to help us when it comes to our visualization. We have the columns that we need. We have the columns called date, country, town, salesperson, quantity sold. We need these columns. The columns that we don't need are these other ones. These ones called all the way from column 7 all the way to the other column. So there are different ways of getting rid of this, and we can use this for practice. So notice that in column 7, if you float your cursor here, or even if you look at this strip just below column 7, you'll see that it's dark, while for these other ones, it's completely green. Now, completely green means that in the whole of your column here, there are no empty cells. You don't have any null values within the whole of this column. If you had noticed that this was partially green, so say maybe if it was green and with a bit of black here, then it means that this column has some empty values that you may need to have a look at before you proceed. Or if you notice that this green here had a bit of red marking here, if it was not completely green, if it had a bit of red marking, then it will mean that there are errors that exist within this column. So you may want to correct that first before you move on, so that you don't move to your visualization when you have errors within your data set. In that case, will be your findings may not be accurate; they'll be misleading. So for now, the good thing is that all of it is green, which means it's good. Similar to these other ones, all of them are completely green. So let's get rid of all the way from column 7 to column 12. Now, even though you could highlight column 7, you highlight column 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, even though you could highlight all those in this manner and then simply press on delete in order to get rid of them, even though that would work, but that will not be the method that I would recommend for us to. That's not the way I would recommend for us to go about it. Now, why I will not want us to do this, to do that in that manner, is that Power BI, what we are trying to do is that for every step that we take in Power BI here, every step that we take is being recorded somewhere, and that somewhere is here in the applied step. Every step that we take is being recorded. Why that recording will help us is that in future, if we wanted to add any other data set here, then what will happen is that with the new data set that we've added, or with the new entries that we will make, Power BI is going to perform the same steps that we had performed earlier on the new data set in order to give us an updated result. So the reason why I will not recommend for us deleting the columns manually, and I want to go back. I want to undo what I did. If you want to do that in Power BI, since we're using Power Query, we say that you can't do Control Z, or you can't move somewhere here and undo. You won't find those icons here. If you want to go back one step, so you come here in the applied steps. We say that every action we take is recorded, and what we do is that this last step that we performed, it removed for us the columns that we had highlighted, which means if you want to undo what we have done, we can simply delete this step. We delete this step by, we come and we click on the delete icon just to the left of these removed columns, just to the left of this step. So we click on that and we would have undone what we did. So the correct method that I would recommend for us to do will be, let's come to our home tab here. You click on the home tab. On the home tab, just somewhere in the middle here, there's an option that tells you to choose columns. There's this option that tells you to choose columns. So you click on that, and then you say you choose the columns that you want to use. So you click on choose column. It will give you a window that lists for you all the columns that you have within this your Power Query editor window. So let's select only the columns that we need. So let me deselect this one. And please, if you get lost, please feel free to let me on the chat box. Then let's select date. We select country, town, salesperson, product, quantity, sold. The rest of these other columns, we don't need them. So let's only select what we need, say OK, and that is what we are going to have. The reason we have done that in that manner is that at times when you are picking data from a worksheet, you'll find that so many other empty columns may also be recognized as part of that worksheet. Ours went up to column 9. At times you'll find that maybe it even goes up to column 15, empty column 15. So we say that all the steps that you apply here are recorded. So if we had deleted only say maybe column 9 to column, say maybe from it was column what? Let me say from column 9 to column 11. If we had only deleted those, but then later we load a data that has something like up to column 20 has been picked up as part of the data, then always what Power BI will do is that it will only always delete for you 9 to 11 and then leave the rest. But if we proceed to only pick the columns that we need, then it means that for any other sheet that you're going to add onto this, then only these specific columns will always be picked and only these will always be used. Let me see. Are you still able to see my screen?
Yes, yes, I can.
Oh, thanks. So we do the same for price list. Now, for price list, let's also do the bit of that bit of transformation. Meaning that in this case, what we're going to do, we have a column here called price list, and then we have a column here called a column 2. Pardon the small bit of noise. I'll shift once I get a chance. So we have this column called price list, and then we have this column called price. So called column. That's not right. We know that this column is called product, and this column is called price. So let's change this column headings to product and this one to price. However, we can't simply come here and call this one. We can't simply come here and call this one price, and then this one, and then this one product. Because if we do that, you see that that is also still duplicated down here. So even though this method could work, you could do a bit so as to force it to work. But the one that I would recommend that we use is let me undo what I've done. Instead, you come and delete this step. The one that I'll recommend for us to use is that since the headings that we have are here in the first row, since the headings are here on the first row, let's promote this first row so that this first row becomes the heading. The explanation for that is more complicated than the action itself, because if we want to promote this, then all we have to do is that we'll come to transform. And then whatever we are looking for is just on the transform ribbon to the very left, where we have this option saying that use the first row as headers. So we'll click on that, and then we'll say that okay, we want our first row to be the header. So we click on that, and our first row will now become the header. So we'll have a table of product, and then we'll have a table of price. I hope up to there we are still on the same page. Good. So now that our two tables are ready for use, if we look at the column called price, all of them have been correctly identified as text. And then if we look at their accompanying figures, then all of them have been correctly identified as whole numbers. That's here. So the price, all of these is correctly identified as whole numbers. That's okay. And then this one has been correctly identified as a text. So that's okay. So now that this table is okay and this table is okay, then let's move. Let's rename, instead of simply calling this one sales sheet, let's move and call this, give this a name that we can be able to relate. Instead of sales sheet, let's call it product. So we come here under query settings here. So instead of sales sheet, let's call this product. Call this product. If you press on enter, then you'll get to see the change updated. Good. So what we've done so far.
Hi, Fred.
Yes.
Before you proceed, we have another question, and National Win is also raising his hand.
Okay, please proceed. so that will give me a chance to move somewhere a bit more quiet.
Thank you,
Alvin Mwangi is asking how you managed to eliminate the columns.
Oh, okay. Nation, your question is a bit different from that, I'm guessing.
Yes. The data sheet or the database that I got
Yes.
appeared a little bit different because it had extra columns that we are not using, unlike yours that had two. So one, I just did the process that you just showed of trimming down your columns to remain with the only ones that you want. However, I still have rows to the bottom and above before I can only get to price list, product, and price. So I'd really wish to know how to eliminate the unwanted rows and remain with an expression just like yours.
Okay, get you. Now, Alvin, let me start with Alvin. Alvin, this is what we did. This is how we remained with only the columns that we needed. We came here to the home tab. We came to the home tab. Then we said choose columns. Said choose columns. We clicked on this. Then we clicked on choose columns. So once we did that, we made that the columns that we remain with are only the columns that we need. So we clicked on, first of all, we deselected all the columns, and then we clicked on date, country, town, salesperson, product, quantity, sold. Those are the only columns that we are going to need for our manipulation. These are the columns, this thing called column 7, column 8, the unnamed columns, these ones we don't need. This one means that these are the extra columns that were created because some other empty columns within our worksheet were identified as part of our data set, which is not the case. They are empty, so there is nothing that it's going to help us with in our analysis. After this, we came here and we say, okay. After this, we just say, okay, I'm going to cancel since I've performed that step. So when you say okay, you're only going to remain with the columns that you need here, from date to quantity sold. Try that, and then in the chat you can let me know if it works. For Nation, I'm guessing your concern was here on the price list. So you're saying you had extra rows here and extra
Yes,
columns.
I had extra rows. You see, unlike yours that has a defined space of 1 to 15 and only 2 columns, mine had extras. However, I also still have every product that you have there and the pricing. So I managed to thin down the column. So I'm having 2 columns right now on my screen.
So you have this
column
of products and price.
Still goes beyond 16, goes beyond 15, and then there are also some extra entries above imperial. Above, yeah.
Good. Now, above imperial, what do you have? Do you have product and price?
Yeah, above imperial I have product, and then above product I have price list and null. So I need to know how to withdraw or remove extra rows or unwanted rows.
Now, if you want to do that for the sake of all of us, if you want to delete extra rows, in this case you can select the row and then maybe right click or press on delete or something. That does not work here. So what you can do, Nation, look at how many columns there are above product. I'm guessing there are two, right?
Two, yes.
So what you do, you come to home and then come to remove rows.
Wait a minute. Yes, remove rows.
Home, remove rows. And then, since they're the top one, let's say remove top rows.
Remove top rows.
Yes. Then you can remove the two extra top rows that you don't need. So here where it said number, where you're told number of rows, you can type in 2 so that you remove the first 2 rows, and then you just say okay. Yeah.
And then for the bottom.
Okay. Yeah. Then you can do something similar for the bottom, where you will come to remove rows, then remove bottom rows. Yeah, remove bottom rows. Then how many bottom rows do you want to remove? So you can look at all the way from the product called Blueband all the way down. If there are 3 extra rows, you can simply type 3 and say okay.
It goes to the end of the list. It goes to the end of the column where I have null, Bakachin.
I think I also had the same issue as Nahashon.
Yes.
But what I've done is I've chosen the option of keeping the first rows. So and then I decided to keep the first 16 rows. The rest of the rows need
so I can keep rows.
Yeah.
So you kept rows.
Yeah.
Oh,
good. I keep
then I think
16, right?
Yeah. That works.
Okay, good.
Okay,
thanks for that.
Good. Good.
Thanks
Thank
for that.
you.
Good. Thanks. So right now, really hoping that all of our data we have the same thing.
But I think now you need to show us, because we were not together. I think myself
okay.
and how to remove the column, the top column where it's shown column 3, column 4, and product price. I think the cutoff area.
Oh, so you had let me undo that. Something like this. I'm guessing this is Alvin.
Yes, that's me who sent before we have removed the top rows and everything.
So this is what you had. This is what you're saying.
Yes,
now.
that's what yes.
So what we did here is that now you see our heading is in row number 1 here. Our heading is in row number 1. So what we're doing is that we want this row number 1 to now be our table heading, to come to the top. So what you do, you go to transform, come to the transform tab, and then to the transform ribbon to the left, the second button that we have here, you're being told that you use the first row as header. So that's the option that you're going to go for. If we click on this, then let's click on the option of using the first row as headers. So the term for that is always called you're promoting the row. So we use the first row as headers, and now that's what we have.
Okay, I've seen that, but maybe I may ask, how do you undo? Because I've removed an extra rows that have removed now this column.
Oh, good. If you want to undo, we say that every action that you take is recorded as a step. So what you do is you come to the section that each of those steps is recorded. For instance, what I did, the very last action I did here has been recorded as change type. So if I want to undo, I simply delete that step. So I simply come and click on the X marking. Let me say that on the change type. So if I do that, then you'll find that you undo each of those steps that you had performed. So that's how you undo. One last question before we move. Good. Now, pricing for all of us. What I want us to do for our pricing, let's record it as let's record our pricing as currency, not a whole number. So we come to this table where we have price list, where we have product and price. So I want us to change this from right now. This 1, 2, 3 simply means that it's being recognized as a whole number, but not as currency. So right now, let's come here and change this to currency. How you do that? You come to where you have this 1, 2, 3. This 1, 2, 3 is a button. If you plot your cursor on it, you'll notice that it's highlighted as a button. So come, click on this 1, 2, 3. If you click on this 1, 2, 3, then you'll notice that you have a whole load of options here. You'll have a whole load of options here. Here, within the Power Query Editor in Power BI, currency is referred to as fixed decimal number. This option 2 that you have here. So click on fixed decimal number. Click on fixed decimal number. If I do that, I'll get a pop-up that is telling me that I'll get some kind of a warning message. What this simply does is that it tells you that the step that you're about to perform is just similar to the immediate step that is here. I want to change this data type, and it's telling me that this step is just similar to this one. So it's asking me, do I want to list this step as another step, which means do I want to have change data type here and then change data type also below it, or do I want to combine these steps? Since they are similar steps, do I want to combine them to be only one step called change data type? Now, what I'll advise, though it will also depend on what you're doing, is that maybe try to avoid having so many steps are listed here. Just try having as minimal steps as possible. So I will not add a new step. I'll just say replace the current step. Replace the current step. Good. After that, then I think we can now move on. So we have our product table, and then we have our price list table. If you're lagging behind, just feel free to shoot a question. We'll come and help. So we have our product table, then we have our price list table. Now here to the very left, the correct term to refer to product and price list, these are now called queries. Queries simply means that these are a collection of the steps that we have performed here. These are a collection of these steps that we've performed here. So product is as a result of these applied steps. Price list is a result of these applied steps. Take note of that. It will come in handy much later. So now that we are done with our transformation, that was step 2. We are ready to move on to now step 3 within our ETL that we're using, which is loading. So whatever we've done, let's now load this to our visualization section, which is now our Power BI interface. So what we'll do, you'll come to home, the home tab. You'll click on the home tab. Then to the very left of your home ribbon, you have this option called close and apply. So there's an arrow, downward pointing arrow. So click on it and then select the option close and apply. So click on close and apply. So you should see a window that is telling you something is loading. You should see a window that is telling you there's something loading within your Power BI. It will give you a brief report of how many rows have been loaded, how many tables have been loaded to your Power BI. If there's any error, the error or the number and the number of errors that have been encountered. So right now, if your window appears as mine, if you don't have any notification, which usually comes to the bottom of this ribbon section, if you don't have any notification here about anything, then you're okay. So if you have exactly what I have here, then you'll notice you'll notice that the interface that we were looking at initially when we opened our Power BI and what we're looking at now is slightly different. For instance, in this middle section, we don't have the 4 buttons that were telling us where we are able to get our data from. Right now, that has been changed to another message that is informing us to build our visuals. So within our Power BI interface, let's start from the extreme right of this interface. On the extreme right, you'll notice that there's a section here that is calling itself data. So this section, this extreme right section, this one will always list for us all the tables that we loaded into our Power BI. Just like when you're using pivot tables and then you have this section, you'll have a similar thing here. There's a question? Okay, good. So you'll have a similar thing here. Now this will show us all the tables that we've loaded onto our Power BI. If I expand on this table called price list, I'll get to see the table headers that we have, the columns that we had. I'll get to see price and product. If I expand product, I'll get to see all the columns that we had initially. Then after data, we have this section called visualization. Now visualizations, this is what enables us to create the graphs within Power BI. Here, visualizations, if you come to this section where we have these graph icons, if you float your cursor here, then it will give you all the possible graphs that by default we are able to create within Power BI. For instance, if you wanted to create a bar chart, maybe we use this, a column chart, a clustered bar chart, If you wanted to create a pie chart, then it's here. So this section gives you all the charts that you are able to create within Power BI as it is right now. I'm saying as it is because you're able to add on to these charts that exist here. Good. So even though you're given icons of how to create those these charts, if you now actually want to create a chart here in Power BI, it's as simple as let's create a simple bar chart of our. Before we complicate anything, let's create a simple bar chart of product, and then we look at the quantity sold. So if you wanted to do that, we simply come and click on a bar chart. Yeah. So if I click on the bar chart, then you'll notice that to this white pen, to this white section that we have here, I've been given a placeholder for a bar chart. I've been given a placeholder for a bar chart. Note that this placeholder that is here, you're able to, if you wanted, you're able to expand it further. You're able to make it bigger. You're able to reduce the size, or you're even able to move it around this section if you so wished. So once it is there, once the placeholder is there, so if you wanted to create the actual chart, now you'll come to this section where we have visualizations. If you move down below these icons, you'll notice that now you have something telling you y-axis and x-axis, plus a whole lot of these are the stuff that we want to use right now. The most important thing we need right now is y-axis and x-axis. So right now I want to create a chart of product. So you can choose. You can bring your product to y-axis, or if you want Power BI to now select for you where to place that, you can simply click on the checkbox here for product. So you click on product against, then you come and click on quantity sold. You click on product, you click on quantity sold. You'll notice that product automatically has been moved to the y-axis. Sum of quantity sold has been moved to the x-axis. Now this chart, as it is right now, it's a bit tiny. So always, if you want to, and as you'll be working on, you'll be doing this one chart at a time. So you can expand on this chart so that you get completely done with it before moving on to the next. So come on this chart, you'll notice that at the very top here, at the very top, just next to the three dots that you have there, if you float your cursor to the middle icon here, there's something called a focus mode. That box with a bit of an arrow in it. So you can click on focus mode, and that will expand for you the whole of that chart, so that it takes up the entire white space that you have. So with this, you can be able to narrow down on only a single chart. Make sure you are done with it before moving on to the next one. For now, I'm seeing products sold. Since they are quite a number, let's change products sold. Let's do instead town and quantity sold. So let me uncheck product and let me check on. Yeah, let me check on town. But town, make sure it's on the y-axis. So we have town, and then we have quantity sold. Good. So before I give us a chance of questioning to make sure we are all together in this, for this chart, always, unlike the charting that we do in normally directly in Excel, for this chart, once you create it, you'll notice that Power BI will create for you the name of the chart here. For me, it's calling this one. It's calling this one sum of quantity sold by town. It has automatically recognized that. And then for the chart that I have right now, if I'm supposed to present this chart or even look at it as it is, if I'm supposed to look at it as it is, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure of Dodoma. What was the quantity sold in Dodoma? So unless I float my cursor to this, that's when I'll get to see a brief preview of the quantity sold in Dodoma. So instead, let's manipulate this chart a bit so that we bring these figures into the chart. If you want to manipulate your chart, the way to do that will be come back to this visualization section that you have. Come back on this visualization section that you have, and then there's a here just below the subtitle build visual. There's an icon, the middle icon. If you float your cursor on it, it will tell you to format your visual. So the middle icon, I'll click on that. I'll click on the middle icon. If I click on the middle icon, I can get to a C. Now I'll ask myself, what do I want to manipulate? What do I want to manipulate? Right now, I still don't want to manipulate the y-axis or the x-axis. What I'm looking for is here. If I scroll down, what I'm looking for, I want data labels on my bars here. So I'll say that let me turn on my data labels. So data labels right now it's off. So let me switch it on. And that will tell me the value of each of the bars that I have here. As it is, it's not so pretty. So I can expand on these data labels that I have. And then I can say that this data label, the position of the labels here, the position of my labels, I want them on the inside and like that. So I know the value of each of the bars that I have here. So with that, I hope we can see the very many different settings that I have. That was for only data labels, which means there's more you can do. In case you wanted to change something on the bars, you can expand on that. You can change the color of the bars if you wanted. By default, it's blue. You can change it to a totally different color, maybe purple if you so wish. You can change the spacing between the bars if you so wished. You can change the background if you wanted. You can include grid lines if you wanted. You can manipulate the X or the Y axis. You simply come and you expand on these and you get to see. Do you want to increase the font, decrease, make them a bit bolder, or do you want to play around with the values, or do you want to change the title? All those settings exist here within this middle option here called the formatting your visual. This is what enables you to format your chart. After you're done with formatting this chart, then what you can do, once you're done, now you can go back to report. So back to report is here on the top left of the chart. So just say back to report. And then towards the journey of building your dashboard, let me increase this a bit. Towards the journey of building your dashboard, then there we have our first dashboard. We have our first chart built. Up to there, do we have a question? Hello guys. Are we okay up to that point?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Now with it's 4:56. Now since we'll be continuing with this as a challenge, to us, as a challenge, so that you also get to explore how much you are able to do. Try creating, try finishing up on this dashboard, whereby right now we've only used simple here stacked batcher, but look for an instance whereby you're going to use a clustered column chart. That is always used when you're trying to do comparison between a number of items. Then since we have try and look at how time series works with this, whereby you can do a chart of quantity sold over time. You get to see how a line graph works. So basically, just build out a dashboard of 4 or 5 charts here, and then interestingly, since we also have country, this is a column that contains geographical data. Geographical data can easily be presented using, you have maps, either a field map or generally a world map, as you have it here. So try using either of these maps on this geographical data. And then the final challenge that I will leave us with, and of which we'll pick up from the next time we are doing something on Power BI. The final challenge will be, you notice that we brought two tables here, a table called price list and a table called product. Right now in product, for product, here, we only have quantity sold, but prices exist on this other table. So what you can challenge yourself with is, how about you create another column called total sales? Create a column called total sales, whereby you're going to multiply the price that is here and the quantities that have been sold in order for you to get the total sales. And then for further dashboards, we are going to use the value of total sales. So try that out. Let's see how it works. And then when we revisit this, we'll touch on what we've talked about now, and then we'll also get to touch on more on Power BI, because Power BI is quite big. What we've done is simply a small tip of the iceberg. So thank you for the interactions. Please allow me to stop there, and I'll hand the program back over to Fatima. Thanks a lot, guys.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? I can't see any question. I would like to invite the rest of the team to introduce themselves. We can start with our speaker of the day, Fred.
Hi guys. First of all, thanks a lot. We always enjoy your presence within these sessions. We value them and we don't take them for granted. The questions that we usually receive after such sessions, They are always interesting, and part of, I'm sure part of what we are going to get during the week, we'll be able to share during the next Power BI presentation that we'll have, so that all of us can be able to benefit out of this. Frederick Cueto, I'm part of the Data Club team. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, Fred. We can have CPA Jason, if you're able to unmute yourself, you can introduce yourself to us.
Yeah, good evening, guys. I hope you can hear me. Thank you all for joining us, for those who are able to. Despite your busy schedules, you committed to self-improving yourself, and we commit to continue providing opportunities for you to grow and be able to achieve better in the potential that you can. My name is CPA Jason, part of the Data Cleave team, and I'm glad that all of you are here. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi. Thank you, Fred, for today's session. It was very interactive. People had a lot of questions, and I'm happy I learned a thing or two. I always keep learning despite being part of the Data Club team. I always get new insight as we do our bi-weekly webinars. My name is Jennifer Liech. I'm part of the Data Club team. I have shared a link to our socials. Please feel free to like, follow, share, and let us connect outside the webinar platform. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. And finally, we can have Eunice. Okay. Issue with her audio. Apologies for that. Yes. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to come and join us and learn. Yes, I hope it was as insightful to you as it was for the rest of us. Yes, and just a reminder on what Jennifer had said, feel free to follow us on our socials, they're in the chat. Yes, and have a good rest of your day. Yes, feel free to live as you will. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice evening. I'll see you in the next one. We'll share the link to each of us so that we keep learning. Have a nice evening.